The massive hall was filled with thousands of alien beings. Some floated in the air, others stood on multiple legs, and a few existed as clouds of glowing particles. This was the Galactic Council, where representatives from 10,000 different species gathered to make decisions that affected the entire galaxy. Ambassador Jiwoo walked into the hall wearing a simple blue uniform. Her footsteps echoed on the crystal floor. Behind her, Captain Daewon followed with 5 other humans. They looked calm, but their eyes showed determination. The head of the council, a tall mantis-like creature named Thrax, clicked his mandibles together. This was his way of laughing. He found the human request amusing. "Ambassador Jiwoo," Thrax said, his voice booming through translation devices. "You have asked to speak before the entire council. This is highly unusual. What matter is so urgent?" Jiwoo stood in the center of the hall. All eyes turned to her. Some aliens whispered to each other. Humans rarely spoke at council meetings. They were considered a minor species, even after 847 years of membership. "Honored Council," Jiwoo began, "humanity wishes to formally withdraw from the galactic community. We are leaving." The hall erupted in noise. Aliens made sounds of confusion, amusement, and disbelief. Thrax raised his front legs and the hall slowly quieted down. "Leaving?" Thrax repeated. "Ambassador, no species has ever left the council voluntarily. Where would you go? How would you survive without access to galactic trade routes and protection?" Jiwoo's face remained expressionless. "We have survived for millions of years. We will survive again. Our decision is final." A crystalline being named Vren floated forward. Light refracted through his body, creating rainbow patterns. "This is clearly a negotiation tactic. What do the humans want? Better trade agreements? A seat on a minor committee?" "We want nothing," Jiwoo said firmly. "We are informing you as a courtesy. The human evacuation has already begun." This caused more commotion. Captain Daewon stepped forward and activated a holographic display. It showed human colony worlds across council space. On each world, ships were already loading people and equipment. A reptilian counselor named Six hissed with laughter. "You have perhaps 50 colonies. This is a small matter. You will return within a year, begging for readmission when reality sets in." Dr. Hana, a human woman with gray hair, spoke up. "We have 214 colonies, 17 major space stations, and human populations on 632 council worlds. We estimate complete evacuation will take 90 standard days." The laughter stopped. Counselors looked at each other with confusion. They had not known humans were so widespread. "Why?" asked a small furry creature named Pill. "Humans have prospered under council protection. Why leave now?" Jiwoo's voice grew colder. "Prospered? For 8 centuries, human children have been denied entry to advanced academies. Our scientists' discoveries have been credited to other species. Our colonies have been given the worst territories in the most dangerous sectors. When human worlds faced famine, our requests for aid were denied or ignored. You have treated us as servants, not equals." "These are strong accusations," Thrax said, though his voice wavered slightly. "If humans had concerns, they should have been brought to the council." "They were," Captain Daewon said, pulling up records. 4,726 formal complaints over 800 years. All were dismissed or lost in bureaucracy. The human science advisor Yule added more information. "Humanity has contributed more medical advances, technological innovations, and infrastructure development than any other 5 species combined. Yet we hold no significant council positions. We have no real vote in decisions that affect our people." Counselor Vren's crystalline form flickered. "Even if true, leaving is foolish. You depend on council protection, trade networks, and shared technology." Jiwoo smiled, but it was not a warm smile. "No, Counselor. You depend on us, but you will learn that soon enough." Thrax stood taller, trying to reassert authority. "Very well. If humanity wishes to make this mistake, the council will grant your request. You have 90 days to remove all human presence from council space. After that time, any humans remaining will be subject to immigration laws like any other foreign species." "Agreed," Jiwoo said. She bowed slightly, a gesture of formal farewell. "May your civilization endure." The humans turned and walked out of the hall. Behind them, counselors began arguing with each other. Some thought this was good news. Humans were always causing small problems with their strange ideas about equality and fairness. Others felt a strange uneasiness they could not explain. Captain Day One paused at the door and looked back one final time. The great council hall, symbol of galactic unity and power, suddenly seemed smaller to him. He wondered if they would ever understand what they had just lost. The humans departed. The council watched them go with amusement, dismissal, and the first tiny seeds of doubt. The first human ships left exactly 3 hours after the council meeting ended. Admiral Tae-young stood on the bridge of the carrier vessel New Dawn and watched dozens of colony transports lift off from the planet below. "All families aboard?" he asked. "Yes, sir," replied his communications officer. "Last group just cleared the atmosphere." Tae-young nodded. After 800 years, humans were finally going home. Except they had no home anymore. Earth was gone, lost to their own mistakes centuries ago. Now they would find a new home, far from the council that never respected them. On the planet's surface, Engineer Bora supervised the dismantling of the human settlement. Massive machines were breaking down buildings, carefully sorting materials for transport. Nothing would be left behind. A local alien merchant, a four-armed being named Crix, watched in disbelief. "You are taking everything? Even the hospital?" "Especially the hospital," Bora replied. She was a short woman with strong hands and tired eyes. "We built it. It's ours. But that hospital serves 50,000 people. Many species depend on it." Crix's voice rose in panic. "Then the council should build a new one," Bora said without emotion. "We offered to share the construction plans 3 decades ago. The council said human medical technology was adequate but not remarkable. Build your own remarkable hospital." The machines continued their work. Within 2 days, the hospital was gone. Only an empty field remained. This same scene repeated across 200 worlds. Human colonies disappeared like they had never existed. Space stations were taken apart piece by piece. Research facilities were emptied and demolished. Merchant Sung Ho closed his trading business on Council Central Station. He had operated there for 40 years, selling human goods and services. His store was always busy. Now he was packing everything into cargo containers. Another merchant, a tall blue alien named Wex, approached him. "Sung Ho, my friend, surely you are not leaving? Your business is very successful." "Not successful enough to stay where I'm not wanted," Sung Ho replied. "But I want you here." "Many want you here." Wex gestured around. "Look, your store is full of customers every day." "Yes, customers who pay me less than they pay other species for the same goods. Customers who complain to station management if I speak too loudly. Customers who are wanted. I am merely tolerated." Sung Ho sealed the last container. "There is a difference." 3 weeks into the evacuation, the council began receiving reports. Minor problems at first. A power grid on an industrial world was fluctuating. Medical equipment at a research station was malfunctioning. Communication relays were experiencing delays. Then the problems grew worse. A major hospital on Counselor Thrax's homeworld reported that their surgical wings were shutting down. The advanced medical equipment was failing. When technicians tried to repair it, they discovered they did not understand how it actually worked. "Contact the human doctors," the hospital administrator demanded. "They left 4 days ago," the technician replied. "All of them? Every single human medical professional in this entire sector? They are gone." Intelligence Officer Kyung was the last human to leave the Council's main computer network. He had spent 2 weeks carefully erasing every piece of human research data. Hundreds of years of studies, innovations, and discoveries were being deleted. A Council security officer tried to stop him. "What are you doing?" "That data belongs to the Council." "No," Kyung said calmly, his fingers moving across holographic displays. "Human researchers created this data. We shared some of it freely. But the advanced work, the cutting-edge research, that was ours. We never gave permission for others to use it. This is theft. No, this is taking back what was always ours." Kyung finished the deletion and packed his equipment. If the Council wants advanced research, perhaps they should have treated human scientists with more respect. Perhaps they should have hired them instead of stealing their work. By week 4, Counselor Vren was studying economic reports with growing horror. Human merchants had managed 17% of all galactic trade. Human logistics coordinators had organized shipping routes for dozens of sectors. Human agricultural specialists had been advising farming operations on hundreds of worlds. All of them were leaving. Trade was already slowing down. Ships were arriving at wrong destinations because coordination was failing. Food shipments were being delayed. "This is impossible," Vren said, his crystalline body flickering with distress. "How did we not know humans were this integrated into our economy?" His assistant, a floating jellyfish-like creature, responded quietly. "Perhaps because we never paid attention to them." Dr. Min Seo was loading the last biological samples onto a transport ship. She had spent 30 years developing disease-resistant crops that fed billions across council space. Now she was taking all her research with her. "You cannot take those plants," a council agricultural minister shouted. "Those crops feed entire planets." "Then you should have developed your own crops," Min Seo replied. "We gave you basic versions years ago. You never bothered to improve them. You just kept asking us to do it for you. But people will starve. Then perhaps the council should have thought of that before treating humans as free labor." Min Seo secured the last container. "We are not your servants. We never were." The evacuation continued. The council was starting to realize something was wrong, but they did not yet understand how wrong it truly was. Day 37 of the evacuation. Dr. Yoon stood in the operating room of Council Central Hospital for the last time. On the table before him lay a small child, a member of the insectoid species. The child's internal organs were failing. "Please, Dr. Yoon," the child's parent begged. "You are the only one who can perform this surgery. Our own doctors say it is too complex." Yoon looked at the scans. The surgery would take 6 hours. His transport ship was scheduled to leave in 8 hours. He should refuse. He should walk away like the council had walked away from humanity so many times. But he was still human. And humans helped even when it hurt them to do so. "Prepare the operating room," he said quietly. "I will do this one last surgery. Then I leave and I never come back." 6 hours later, the child was stable. The parents wept with gratitude. Dr. Yoon removed his surgical gloves and walked out. He did not look back. In the hospital's administrative office, the director was frantically searching for replacement surgeons. Out of 47 human doctors who had worked there, 47 had left. The remaining non-human doctors could handle basic cases, but complex surgeries were beyond them. "How is this possible?" the director asked. "Surely other species have skilled surgeons." "They do," his assistant replied. "But human doctors have something others do not. They call it intuition. They can sense problems before machines detect them. They adapt to complications instantly. Other species follow protocols. Humans understand the patient. Then we need to hire more humans immediately. There are no more humans. They are all leaving." Across the galaxy, critical infrastructure was failing. Technician Su Young was the last human at Industrial Complex Gamma 9. This complex provided power to 17 planets. She had maintained its systems for 20 years. Now she was teaching a group of alien technicians how to run the plant. They were not learning fast enough. "The quantum reactor is unstable," she explained, pointing at displays. "You must monitor these 3 readings constantly. If they drift out of balance, you have a 90-second window to correct them before catastrophic failure." A reptilian technician named Skull looked confused. "But the manual says we have 5 minutes. "The manual is wrong," Su Young said. "I wrote reports about this error 8 times. They were never corrected because council engineers said a human technician must be mistaken. So what do we do? You pray you notice the drift in time." Su Young picked up her bag. "I am done here." "Good luck," she walked out. Behind her, alarms were already starting to sound. The technicians did not know what they meant. Station Chief Du Hyun was evacuating Nexus Station, a massive trading hub that housed 2 million beings. The station's environmental systems were incredibly complex, managing life support for hundreds of different species with different atmospheric needs. Humans had designed these systems. Humans maintained them. Now the humans were leaving and no one else understood how the systems worked. "You must leave instructions," demanded Station Administrator Prex. "I did," Do Hyun replied. 50 volumes of technical manuals. They are in the central computer. But our engineers say the manuals are incomplete. The manuals contain everything we could write down. But some knowledge cannot be written. It must be learned through experience. It must be felt. Do Hyun looked at the administrator with something like pity. "You have 6 months of stable operation, maybe less. After that, the station will start dying. You should begin evacuation procedures. This station has operated for 200 years. Yes, because humans kept it operating. Now you will learn what that really meant." Captain Hyojin commanded the defense fleet protecting the evacuating human ships. Pirates had attacked one of the colony transports, thinking humans would be easy prey. They were wrong. Hyojin's warships destroyed the pirate vessels in less than 3 minutes. The pirates never even got close to the transport. The weapons the human ships used were unlike anything the pirates had encountered. They were faster, more accurate, and far more powerful than anything in Council space. Council military observers watched the battle with growing unease. They had always assumed human ships were inferior. Humans had small vessels, small fleets. They never participated in Council military exercises because they said their ships were not advanced enough. That was a lie. Or rather, humans had allowed the Council to believe a comfortable lie. "Get me a full analysis of those weapons," demanded Council Military Commander Zeloth. "How did humans develop such technology?" The analysis came back 3 days later. The technology was at least 50 years ahead of anything the Council possessed. Maybe more. It was impossible to tell because the weapon systems used principles that Council scientists did not fully understand. "How long have humans had this capability?" Zeloth asked. "Unknown," the analyst replied, "but based on the sophistication, probably centuries." Centuries? And they never told us? Why would they? We treated them as inferiors. Would you share your best weapons with people who disrespected you? Counselor Thorax sat in his private chamber, reading report after report. Power failures, medical crises, communication breakdowns, trade collapse, infrastructure failures, and now evidence that human military technology was far superior to Council defenses. For the first time, a cold feeling of dread settled over him. What had the Council done? What had they lost? He tried to contact Ambassador Jiwoo. Her response was brief. "Humanity has nothing more to say to the Council. Do not contact us again." The communication channel closed. Thorax sat in darkness, finally beginning to understand the magnitude of the mistake the Council had made. Day 53. Admiral Tae-young received an emergency transmission from the Council. He ignored it. 3 more transmissions followed. He ignored those too. Finally, Counselor Thrax himself appeared on the communication screen, his mandibles clicking with agitation. "Admiral, we must speak urgently. We have nothing to discuss," Tae-young replied coldly. "Please, there are critical situations developing across Council space. We need human assistance for a transition period. Name your price." Tae-young's eyes hardened. "When human colonies faced the plague of Kepler-7, we begged for medical supplies. The Council debated for 6 weeks while 10,000 humans died. When we finally received help, it was the cheapest, least effective medicine available. You gave us scraps and called it generosity. That was a mistake, but when human children were denied entry to the Academy of Advanced Sciences, we asked why. We were told human intellect was unsuitable for higher learning. 3 of those rejected children grew up to make discoveries that revolutionized galactic medicine. You stole their research and gave credit to other species. Admiral, please, you had 847 years. You could have treated us as equals at any moment. You chose not to. Now face the consequences of your choice." Tae-young ended the transmission. Researcher Yoon was destroying the last human research facility in Council space. The facility contained prototype technology that was decades ahead of anything else in the galaxy. Gravitational engines, medical scanners that could detect disease at the molecular level, energy shields that could protect entire planets. Council scientists arrived, desperate to preserve the research. "You cannot destroy this," a scientist named Vex shouted. "This research could save billions of lives." "Could have," Yoon corrected. "Could have saved lives if the Council had allowed us to share it openly. But every time we tried, Council patent offices blocked us. They said human research needed additional verification before approval. Other species' research was approved immediately. That was bureaucracy, not malice. The result was the same. Human innovations were delayed or stolen. Now you will have neither." Yoon activated the facility's self-destruct sequence. "You have 10 minutes to evacuate." The facility exploded in a flash of light. Decades of research gone forever. On the border worlds, Captain Jinwoo was evacuating the final human colonies. These were the most remote settlements located at the edge of Council space. Few Council members even knew these colonies existed. What they did not know was that these human colonies had been the only thing standing between Council space and extragalactic threats. Strange vessels from beyond the galaxy occasionally probed the borders. Human defense stations had quietly turned them away for centuries. Now the humans were leaving. The defense stations were being dismantled. Within days of the human withdrawal, unknown ships began entering Council space. They were not hostile yet, but they were clearly testing the borders, seeing how far they could go, looking for weakness. Council border patrols tried to intercept them. The unknown ships easily evaded Council vessels. They were faster, more maneuverable. The Council patrols were helpless. Where did these ships come from? Demanded Council military commander Zeloth. They have always been there, Captain Jinwoo replied when questioned. Humans kept them away. You never noticed because we did our job well. Now our job is done. Zeloth made a fatal mistake. He decided that humans were bluffing about their military capabilities. He believed the earlier display of force was exaggerated or a lucky strike. He ordered a Council fleet to intercept the human evacuation ships and detain them until humans agreed to continue their maintenance. Worked out 3 Council battleships appeared in front of Admiral Tae-young's fleet. They powered up weapons, a show of force meant to intimidate. Human vessels, power down your engines and prepare to be boarded, the Council fleet commander transmitted. Tae-young felt a wave of disappointment. After everything, the Council still did not understand. Still believed they had power over humanity, still thought threats would work. Fire a warning shot across their bow, he ordered quietly. A human frigate, 1/10 the size of a Council battleship, fired a single shot. The energy beam moved faster than Council sensors could track. It struck empty space 300 meters in front of the lead battleship. Where the beam passed, space itself seemed to tear. A ripple of distorted reality spread outward. Every electronic system on all 3 Council battleships shut down instantly. The massive warships went dark and dead, floating helplessly in space. That was the warning Tae-young transmitted. The next shot will not miss. Withdraw immediately, or be destroyed. The Council ship's emergency systems slowly rebooted. The fleet commander, shocked and terrified, ordered a full retreat. They limped away at sublight speed, their faster-than-light drives damaged by the weapon's aftereffects. Zeloth watched the sensor recordings in horror. 1 shot, 1 small human ship. 3 of the Council's most powerful battleships disabled in an instant. What kind of weapon was that? He whispered. We do not know, his science officer replied. It appears to have been a controlled quantum collapse beam that disrupted subatomic bonds temporarily. The physics required for such a weapon is beyond our understanding. How long have humans had this technology? Unknown. But to have miniaturized it to fit on a frigate? Decades at minimum. Possibly longer. Dr. Hana appeared on galactic news channels. She had recorded a message before leaving, set to broadcast automatically. Her face appeared on every screen in Council space. People of the Galactic Council, she began, you are about to face a difficult truth. For 8 centuries, humanity maintained your civilization. We fixed your ships when they broke down. We healed your sick when your own doctors could not. We kept your stations running, your worlds powered, your communication networks functioning. She pulled up document after document, showing records of human maintenance work. Thousands of incidents where human technicians had prevented disasters. Millions of small repairs that kept civilization running smoothly. Every day humans prevented approximately 12,000 critical failures across Council space. System malfunctions that would have caused deaths, economic collapse, or infrastructure breakdown. You never noticed because we fixed the problems before they became visible. The documents scrolled faster, an overwhelming flood of data. You treated us as servants, as lesser beings. You never asked what we did or why we did it. You simply expected us to continue serving you forever. Hana's eyes were cold. Now you will learn what your civilization truly is without human support. Now you will understand what you have lost. This is not revenge. This is consequence. The broadcast ended. Across Council space, beings watched in growing horror as they finally understood the truth. Their entire civilization had been built on a foundation of human labor, human innovation, and human patience, and that foundation was being pulled away. Day 71. The Galactic Council held an emergency summit. Every counselor was present. The mood was desperate. Across Council space, infrastructure was collapsing. Medical systems were failing. Communication networks were dying. Planets were going dark. The economic reports were catastrophic. Galactic trade had declined by 60%. Some worlds were facing food shortages. Others were losing power. Counselor Vren, whose crystalline body now flickered erratically with stress, presented the data. If this continues for another month, we face complete economic collapse. If it continues for 3 months, we face a humanitarian crisis affecting trillions of beings. Then we must convince the humans to return, said Counselor Thorax. We must offer them whatever they want. We tried, another counselor replied. They refuse all communication. Try harder. Offer them anything. Full council membership, control of entire sectors, unlimited resources. Just get them back. Ambassador Jiwoo had not planned to return to council space, but the council sent a ship under a flag of truce, carrying a formal invitation for final negotiations. The invitation was signed by every single counselor. It was an unprecedented show of unity and desperation. She agreed to meet them, one final time. The negotiation room was the same one where humanity had first joined the council 8 centuries ago. Jiwoo entered alone. Facing her were Thrax, Vren, and 5 other senior counselors. They all looked diminished somehow, smaller, weaker. Ambassador Jiwoo, thank you for coming, Thrax began. I came only to hear your final message, Jiwoo replied. Nothing you say will change our decision. Please, we acknowledge mistakes were made. We are prepared to offer full council membership. Humans will have 3 seats on the High Council. You will have equal voting power with the founding species. You offer us what should have been ours from the beginning. 800 years too late. Counselor Vren floated forward, his crystalline form shimmering with urgency. Name any economic concessions you want. Tax exemptions, exclusive trade rights, access to the richest resource systems. We will give you anything. We do not need your economy. Our independent settlements are already more prosperous than anything in council space. Another counselor, an ancient being named Kex, spoke in a trembling voice. Then what do you want? There must be something. Name it and it is yours. Jiwoo's expression did not change. What I wanted was respect. What I wanted was for human children to be judged by their abilities, not their species. What I wanted was for human scientists to receive credit for their work. What I wanted was for human colonies to receive aid when they face disasters, not bureaucratic delays and scraps. We will make it right, Thrax insisted. How? Jiwoo's voice remained calm, but there was steel beneath it. How will you restore dignity to the thousands of humans who were passed over for promotions they deserved? How will you repay the human doctors who trained other species students, only to be denied positions themselves? How will you resurrect the 10,000 humans who died in the Kepler-7 plague, while the council debated whether to help them? The room fell silent. You cannot make it right, Jiwoo continued. That is what you fail to understand. Some things, once broken, cannot be fixed. A holographic display appeared. Supreme Commander Hyun materialized. He wore a military uniform that no one in the council had seen before. Behind him, through the hologram, massive warships were visible. Hundreds of them, thousands, counselors, Hyun said, his voice formal and cold. I am transmitting this to provide context for Ambassador Jiwoo's position. What you see behind me is the human expeditionary fleet. 50,000 warships, each equipped with technology you do not possess and cannot replicate. The counselors stared in shock. We could have conquered the entire galaxy at any point in the last 4 centuries, Hyun continued. We chose peaceful coexistence instead. We chose to help rather than dominate. We chose to serve rather than rule. That was our mistake. Not a mistake, Jiwoo corrected. It was our nature. Humans help. Humans build. Humans heal. Even when it costs us, even when we are not appreciated, we help. That is who we are. And you exploited that nature, Hyun finished. You took advantage of humanity's goodwill for 800 years. Now that goodwill is exhausted, Counselor Vren made one final attempt. If you will not stay for offers of power or wealth, then stay for the innocent beings who will suffer without your help. Billions will die if your medical systems fail completely. Trillions will face hardship when infrastructure collapses. Jiwoo closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, there was pain there. Real pain. Do you think I do not know that? Do you think it does not hurt us to leave people in need? That is exactly what you are counting on. Human compassion. Human inability to ignore suffering. Then stay and help them, Thrax pleaded. No, because if we stay now, nothing will change. You will continue to take us for granted. You will continue to exploit our nature. You will promise equality and then, slowly, over years and decades, things will return to how they were. We will be servants again. Useful but never equal. An elderly human woman appeared on another hologram. She had white hair and a face lined with age and wisdom. This was elder spokeswoman Youngjia, the oldest living human diplomat. I was there when humanity joined the council, she said quietly. I was 23 years old. I believed we were entering a partnership of equals. I believed we would learn from each other, grow together, build something beautiful. Her voice grew harder. I am now 870 years old. I have lived my entire extended life in council space. I have watched as every generation of humans hoped things would improve. Hoped we would finally be accepted. Hoped our contributions would be recognized. They never were. The council had 847 years to treat us with dignity. You chose not to. That choice has consequences. What if we punish those who discriminated against humans? Thrax asked desperately. What if we make examples of the species and individuals who treated you poorly? Ambassador Jiwoo laughed, but it was a bitter sound. All of you discriminated against us, counselor. That was the problem. It was not a few individuals. It was systemic. It was everyone. She stood to leave. Humanity's final decision is this: complete separation. No contact for a minimum of 500 standard years. Perhaps by then the council will have learned what we tried to teach you. And what lesson is that? Vren asked quietly. That respect is not given to the powerful. It is given to the worthy. And worthiness is measured by how you treat those you believe are beneath you. Jiwoo walked out. The negotiations were over. There would be no compromise, no return, no second chance. The counselors sat in silence, finally understanding the magnitude of their failure. They had not lost a member species. They had lost the very foundation of their civilization, and they had no one to blame but themselves. Day 90. The final day had arrived. Every human in council space was now aboard evacuation vessels. The fleet gathered at the edge of known space, hundreds of thousands of ships arranged in perfect formation. From the smallest personal shuttles to massive colony carriers, they all waited for the signal to leave. Captain Day One stood on the bridge of his command ship looking at the fleet display. 80 billion humans, 8 centuries of history, all leaving at once. All ships report ready, his communications officer announced. Stand by, Day One replied. There is one last thing we must do. He opened a transmission channel, not just to the council but to every world in council space, every species, every being. This message would reach everyone. His image appeared on billions of screens across the galaxy. People of the Galactic Council, he began. This is Captain Day One of the Human Exodus Fleet. In a few moments, humanity will depart from council space forever. Before we go, I want to say a few words. He paused, gathering his thoughts. We do not leave in anger. We do not leave seeking revenge. We leave in sadness. Sadness for what could have been. Sadness for a partnership that never truly existed. Sadness for the potential that was wasted. Humans came to the council in hope. We believed in unity among species. We believed in cooperation and mutual respect. We worked hard to prove our worth. We contributed everything we could. We asked only to be treated as equals. That simple request was never granted. Not in 800 years. And so we leave. Across council space, beings watched. Some with guilt, some with confusion, some still with disdain. But all watched as humanity prepared to depart. We leave behind a complete record of everything we built and maintained, Day One continued. Technical manuals, medical procedures, agricultural techniques, infrastructure designs. All of it is freely available to you now. We hope you will be able to use this knowledge to maintain what we built and create your own future. Archivist Sang, on another ship, activated the data transmission. Petabytes of information flooded into council networks. Every human innovation, every technique, every secret that could be written down. It was all there, a final gift to the civilization that had never appreciated them. We do not hate you, Day One said. We simply choose to build something better elsewhere. We choose to create a future where our children will be judged by their character and abilities, not by their species. Admiral Tae-young received confirmation that all ships were ready. The fleet's faster-than-light drives were charged, but these were not the hyperspace drives that council species used. These were something entirely different, something human scientists had developed centuries ago and never shared. Spatial fold drives ready, his navigation officer reported. Hold position, Tae-young ordered. On a colony ship named Hope's Light, a young woman named Jia gave birth to a daughter. The baby's cry echoed through the medical bay. She was the last human born in Council space, and the first of a new generation that would never know the Council's discrimination. The mother, exhausted but smiling, held her child. What should we name her? Mireille, her partner suggested. It meant future in an ancient Earth language. Mireille, Jia repeated softly. Yes, she is our future. Pilot Sunwoo commanded the very last human ship still in Council space. A small courier vessel. His job was to ensure all other humans had escaped, then depart himself. He received confirmations from every sector, every colony, every station. All humans were accounted for. This is Sunwoo to Exodus Command. All personnel evacuated. I am the last. Acknowledged, came the reply. Safe travels, Sunwoo. He pointed his ship toward the gathering fleet and engaged engines. As he flew, he passed abandoned human settlements, empty stations, dark facilities. Everything humans had built, now silent and lifeless. He thought about his grandmother who had been born in Council space. She had always believed things would get better, that one day humans would be truly accepted. She had died still believing that. Sunwoo was glad she was not alive to see this. To see humanity's final rejection of the Council's broken promises. The fleet was ready. Captain Daewon prepared to give the final order. But first, one last message. Farewell, Galactic Council. We hope you learn from this. We hope you become better. We hope that someday, centuries from now, we might meet again as true equals. But until then, we go to find our own destiny. Among the stars, beyond your reach, we will build a civilization based on respect, equality, and genuine unity. Not the hollow words of unity you spoke while treating us as lesser beings, but real unity. True partnership. Goodbye. May your civilization endure without us. You will need to be strong. He nodded to Admiral Tae-young. The order was given. Across the fleet, spatial fold drives activated. These drives did not push ships through hyperspace. They folded space itself, allowing instantaneous travel across vast distances. It was technology decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. The Council's long-range sensors watched in awe and horror as space itself seemed to ripple and bend around the human fleet. Reality twisted, folded, compressed. And then, in a flash of light that could be seen for light years, 80 billion humans vanished. The entire fleet, gone in an instant, not just faster than light travel, instant displacement. Here one moment, gone the next. Council scientists frantically searched for any trace, any residual energy signature, any clue about where the humans had gone. There was nothing. The humans had disappeared so completely that it was as if they had never existed. Pilot Sunwoo's was the final transmission received from humanity. Farewell. We hope you learn from this. Then silence. The communication channels that had carried human voices for 8 centuries went quiet. The sectors where humans had lived went dark. The stations they had maintained began their slow decline into failure. Counselor Thorax sat in his chamber staring at empty star maps. He had been a young counselor when humans first joined. He had dismissed them as primitives who should be grateful for the opportunity to serve. He had lived long enough to see humanity surpass the Council in every way that mattered. And now they were gone, taking with them all hope for the Council's future. Young Mireille slept peacefully in her mother's arms, unaware that she was the first generation of free humans. Humans who would never bow, never serve, never beg for respect. They would build something new, something better, and the Council would face its collapse alone. Day 91. The first day without humans, the Council expected problems. They did not expect the scale of the disaster. Within 24 hours, 17 major hospitals across Council space reported complete system failures. Medical equipment that had functioned perfectly for decades suddenly stopped working. The non-human doctors tried to repair them using the manuals humans had left behind. The manuals were comprehensive. They explained every component, every connection, every procedure, but they could not explain intuition. They could not teach the instinctive understanding that human doctors possessed. Equipment was repaired according to specifications, but it did not work the same way. Something was missing. Something humans had provided without anyone realizing. On Industrial World Gamma 9, the power plant failed on day 93. Technician Skull had followed every instruction Su Young had left. He monitored all the readings she had specified. But when the quantum reactor destabilized, he could not correct it fast enough. The plant shut down automatically before catastrophic failure occurred. This was good. It meant no one died. But it also meant 17 planets lost their primary power source. Emergency power lasted 3 weeks. Then darkness began to spread across those worlds. Counselor Vren watched his economic models spiral into disaster. He had been a mathematician for 600 years. He understood numbers better than most beings in the galaxy. But the numbers were now showing something impossible. The Council's economy had not just declined. It was collapsing exponentially, every day worse than the last. Supply chains were breaking down. Trade routes were failing. Currencies were destabilizing. How can this be happening so fast? He asked his assistant. Because humans were integrated into every aspect of the economy, the assistant replied. They were not just merchants and traders. They were the coordinators, the problem solvers, the ones who kept everything flowing smoothly. But we have their manuals, their procedures. Yes, but manuals cannot replace experience and adaptability. Humans saw problems before they became crises. They found solutions that were not in any manual. They made thousands of small decisions every day that kept the system functioning. Vren understood. They had not lost workers. They had lost the intelligence that animated the entire system. Communication networks were failing faster than anyone had predicted. The relay stations that connected thousands of worlds were malfunctioning. Council technicians tried to maintain them, but each repair seemed to cause 2 more problems. Then they discovered something horrifying. The translation matrix, the system that allowed 10,000 different species to communicate with each other, was human-designed. The code was incredibly complex. The algorithms were beyond anything Council programmers could create, and the system was dying. Species began losing the ability to communicate with each other. Misunderstandings multiplied. Trade negotiations failed because no one could understand what others were saying. Medical instructions were mistranslated, leading to deaths. The galaxy was becoming a Tower of Babel, and humans were the only ones who had understood the language. Captain Malvek led the Council defense forces in the border sectors. His fleet was large and well-armed, but the extragalactic raiders were becoming bolder. They attacked Council colonies, testing defenses. Malvek's forces tried to stop them. They failed. The Council warships were slow and predictable compared to the raiders. Battles that humans had won easily were now devastating defeats. How did humans defend these sectors? Malvek asked. A surviving officer who had worked with human defenders explained. They did not just fight with weapons. They predicted enemy movements. They set traps. They used psychology and tactics we do not understand. Human commanders thought in ways we cannot replicate. Then we must learn. We have been trying, but human strategic thinking is not something that can be taught in weeks or months. It requires a way of seeing problems that our species do not naturally possess. The border worlds fell one by one. Billions became refugees. They fled toward the Council's core worlds, but those worlds were struggling with their own crises. Day 120. A plague appeared on 7 worlds simultaneously. It was a new disease, something that had not existed before. It spread rapidly, killing thousands within days. The Council's medical experts studied it desperately. They could not understand it. Human doctors would have identified it within hours. Human researchers would have developed a treatment within days, but there were no human doctors. No human researchers. Just the manuals they had left behind, which could not help with a completely new disease. The plague spread to 50 worlds. Then 200. Then 500. Historical analyst Tavora was recording everything. Future generations, if there were any, needed to understand what had happened. Needed to know why the Council had fallen. It was not war that destroyed us, she wrote. It was not invasion or catastrophe. It was our own arrogance. We believed ourselves superior to humans. We believed they needed us more than we needed them. We were wrong on both counts. Humans were not a member species. They were the foundation upon which our civilization was built. We did not see it because we did not want to see it. We did not appreciate them because we believed appreciation was something they should give to us, not something we should give to them. Now we are learning what we truly are without humans. We are 10,000 species who cannot communicate, cannot cooperate, cannot solve problems that require creative thinking. We followed rules. Humans created solutions. Counselor Thrax's mandibles trembled as he read the latest reports. 3,000 worlds were now experiencing critical failures. 100 billion beings were facing food shortages. Medical systems had collapsed on 600 planets. The communication network was 40% degraded. The economy had contracted by 78%, and it had only been 90 days. His science advisors estimated that complete recovery, if even possible, would take 1,000 years. 1,000 years to rebuild what humans had maintained effortlessly. The horrible truth was now undeniable. The Galactic Council had never been a great civilization. It had been a mediocre civilization propped up by human genius, human labor and human patience. Without humans, they were revealed for what they truly were: average, struggling, lost. Thrax wrote a final entry in his personal log. We were given a gift, a species of builders, healers, and dreamers, a species that helped without expecting glory, that served without demanding worship, that gave without requiring thanks. We treated them as servants. We dismissed their contributions. We denied them respect, and when they left, we called them ungrateful. But it was not humans who were ungrateful. It was us. We were ungrateful for 800 years. Now we are alone in the dark, watching our civilization crumble, and we have no one to blame but ourselves. He paused, then added one final line. We deserved this. 200 years later, a message appeared on Council communication networks. No one knew how it had been delivered. It simply appeared on every functioning screen in Council space. The message was brief. We are thriving. We have found 300 pristine worlds. We have built a civilization based on respect and equality. We do not hate you. We pity you. Perhaps in another 300 years we might speak again. If you have learned what we tried to teach you, respect is not given to the powerful. It is given to the worthy, and worthiness is measured by how you treat those you believe beneath you. Remember that. The message was signed simply, humanity. Then it vanished, leaving no trace of how it had arrived. The Council tried to track its origin. They found nothing. Humanity was out there somewhere, thriving in unknown space, growing, building, succeeding. And the Council was left behind, struggling to survive in the ruins of what they had destroyed through their own arrogance. The galaxy watched in horror as the truth became undeniable. Without humans, they were nothing, and humans were never coming back.